What's going on, everybody? Welcome to podcast number 2. Today, I have an extremely exciting guest, Jon Cheung, who's the CEO and owner of Evolve Fitness that's based here out of Edmonton. Jon, I'm so excited to have you here. You were someone that helped me really early in the journey before I started Martin Recruitment. And in a lot of ways, you were super influential in helping me take that plunge into entrepreneurship. So as we kick it off, maybe tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Sounds good. Name's Jon Cheung, half Chinese. I'm the founder and CEO of Evolve Strength. Started in 2015. Prior to that, I did my phys ed degree at U of A. And I wasn't sure if I was going to do nutrition or physical fitness. I was like, I don't know which one I'm going to do. Ended up going physical fitness, strength conditioning, really, because there's not a lot of roads that you can take out of, not necessarily personal training, kinesiology. It was kinesiology. It wasn't kinesiology at the time, but it was phys ed actually. But it was either like sport performance, injury rehab, or nutrition. I was like, I'll do nutrition. But then I swapped over to sport performance. But did my CSCS, which is the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist certification. Ultimately, it's just a certification where you can train sports. So did that one, and then trained the Eskimos for a couple of years, trained the police for a couple of years, and then decided to open a gym. But the funny thing is, it was never my goal or dream to actually have a business. I actually swore off owning businesses when I was like 23.
Wow.
Yeah, because my parents own a candy store, and it's a really good candy store. But it's a small candy store, small enough that you really can't hire everyone. So it was always my parents working. Like my mom would work or my dad would work. So it was only Sundays we would see both the parents.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy, right? So I thought, businesses suck.
Yeah.
I would never want to have this life. And then lo and behold,
Look at you now.
I have a business.
That's awesome. And so I would love to start from the very beginning because, kind of like you mentioned, there's very few people that when they're a kid, they're like, I want to be a business owner. I want to own a chain of gyms. So I guess starting out, like, what were you like as a kid? Did you, like you mentioned, you couldn't possibly imagine doing this. Mm-hmm. What were you like?
So the funny thing is, like, as I thought back, I was like, what were there like moments of entrepreneurship? And there actually were a couple, which I didn't even think about at the time. But kid-wise, I was just like, I don't know, playing sports. So
right.
No real thought. I would work in the candy store, right? So we would go visit my mom, or we'll go visit my dad, and vice versa. Or we have to switch, because if my dad was working the day, my mom was working at night, then he'd pick us up from school, and then we go to the store, grab a treat, whatever it is, and then swap parents, right? So I was always I grew up in the store. I worked there when I was grade 8, grade 9, and then I worked there a lot in university actually. Okay. But I thought of like entrepreneur things. I remember this time where eBay during high school was a very kind of new thing, because the internet really became something in like grade 9 maybe.
Okay.
And then we're like, what is this eBay thing? And I loved car audio. So me and my friend Dan were like super obsessed with car audio. So we got these sweet subs, and everyone's like, I want to have car audio too. And we're like, just go on eBay. At the time, it was the Kicker Square subs.
Obviously,
is that before your time?
I think that was before my time. Yeah.
Yeah, you're young. So we were like, sick. Like, we saw them selling for like $1,500 in store here.
Okay.
And we're like, we can buy these for like $600 on eBay. So
awesome.
We're like, should we do it? So then we started ordering some subs, and then would sell them to our classmates in high school. And then we got into Underglow and started selling Underglow. And that was pretty funny. And then, so we sold maybe like, 2 or 3 things. And then whatever, we just did not want to do it. And then I was thinking about this maybe like last week. I remember my dad, he liked cars. I like cars. And then one day he brought back this like 1975 Volkswagen Bug. And we were like, 9 years old. We were like, why'd you buy this? This is stupid. We're not going to drive this.
Yeah.
Then just sat in our driveway for, 4 months, 5 months. And then it was gone. I was like, where'd it go? And my dad said, I sold it. I was like, what'd you sell it for? He's like, I bought it for $4,000 and I sold it for $7,000. I was like, well, you can do this?
Let's go.
So I was like, yeah, let's buy another one.
Wow.
So I guess the small little things like kind of brought up an entrepreneurial spirit, I guess. Yeah, just exposure.
There's such few people I think that would be in high school that would spot an opportunity like that. And yeah, those audios were before my time. I was part of the Motorola like flip phone
Yes,
generation with I was too busy with like Tamagotchis and stuff like that to be like, let's flip car audio.
Yeah.
But that's definitely an early indicator, I guess. Were you good at school?
Not really.
No,
not really. I was average.
B's, C's.
I was B's and C's.
B's and C's.
Yeah, like I initially went to right after high school. I went upgraded.
Yeah.
And then I went into Grant Mac, got into sciences because I thought I would do sciences.
Yeah.
Right? And then sciences was all like environmental biology.
Right.
Which I was like, I didn't want to learn that. So I don't know. I flunked out a couple courses and stuff like that. And then I jumped over to phys ed. I was like, this is more what I wanted to learn about was the body.
Right.
So then I excelled in some things. It's even really funny too. Like, I remember this course I was taking. It's called PAC 490. I think it was advanced resistance training.
Okay.
And we had to do programming. And on a test, I was pretty good at programming, and it's called undulating wave style programming. Essentially, what you want to do when you're doing programming is you want to have varying loads.
Right.
So you wouldn't do a load essentially the same over 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right? The answer on the test was going to be make it undulating.
Right.
Right. Have volume and then deload and then build and then crash and then deload, whatever it is. Right. And then as I was writing, I was like, but there's so many other variations you can do.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I'm going to make it a block.
There.
And then I failed it.
No.
And I was like, this is stupid. Like there's so many variations. So yeah, some things I was my own worst enemy at, but overall, certain things I did excel in.
Okay.
Other things I didn't.
Gotcha. So you went into the sciences.
Yep.
And then that wasn't it. And then you found
phys ed. Yep.
Okay. And so then you were a personal trainer. How long did you do that for?
So right out of school, so I did I guess the way I got into it was I did my practicum with the football team with the Golden Bears. And then from there, I met this guy named Lindsay Materi, who was working with the Alberta Sport Development Center out in Footfield. And then this other guy, Michael Cook. And I said, oh, you guys are like, they're super smart. I was like, can I volunteer with you guys?
Right.
Just to learn what you guys do. So they're like, yeah, sure. Sounds good. So I was volunteering with them. And then I was doing a little bit of contracting with the Golden Bears because they wanted to keep me on after my practicum. And then I decided, well, I'll just get a personal training job just in the meantime as well. So I was personal training at World Health and then working at the university and then volunteering with Alberta Sport Development Center. Then I got a job with them as their first strength coach.
Okay.
And then maybe like a year and a half. Yeah. And people always ask like, oh, what was the best thing you did? I volunteered for a whole year, probably like 20 hours a week, just purely volunteering.
That's so much time. Wow.
I know, but I learned so much.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet. Well, I can get like, these guys had all masters in strength conditioning. I was like, sweet. I'll just ask them every single question I have. So then the benefit of that is both Lindsay and Mike were the strength coaches of the Eskimos, but they got too busy. So they stepped down. And I remember getting a call. I'm like, hey, like, hey, what's up, Mike? Or what's up, Lindsay? How's it going? Oh, good. We stepped down from the Eskimos. Oh, why'd you do that? That's crazy. So yeah, we stepped down. I got too busy, but we're going to recommend you. So Nate Hayes is going to call you in 2 days. So make sure you accept the job. I was like, oh God.
for any young guy that's really into fitness, training professional athletes, how much does it get any better than that? That's just like that's the dream job.
Yeah, it would be the dream. Like at the time, I would say there were three dream jobs. It was working for the Eskimos, working for the Oilers, or working for the police.
Right.
And I ended up 2 out of 3. Pretty good.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
So how did you enjoy that role when you got hired and you're the strength coach for the Eskimos now? Mm-hmm. How long did you do that and how did you like it? Was it what you thought it was going to be?
It was awesome. Yeah. It was super, super cool because that really kind of sparked the idea of how I made Evolve.
Right.
It was a team-based approach of treatment. So in season and off season are way different. In season is guy gets injured,
Yeah.
and then we got to fix them. And then off season is just programming, because a lot of guys, they're not from Edmonton,
Mhm.
right? So we just program, and then we hope that they follow our program.
Yeah.
But then in season, it's more hands-on because we actually see the team. So there's going to be, I think there was at least one, if not two, team workouts a week. And then there was, if there's an injured roster, guys, and they'd have a workout the day before the game. And then practices we were there for, right? Working with the injured guys. And then games we were there just to work with some injured guys as well. And if they need any assistance with injured guys on the field. So a couple times, essentially our job was driving the cart.
Fair enough.
That if someone got injured and couldn't get off the field, we'd go grab the cart and drive it. But then we're just assisting with the athletic therapist too. But the cool thing is, what I saw was insane. A guy would get injured,
Yeah.
take him like 6 months to recover. But because we had all the medical staff, we got him back in 3 months.
Wow.
Because there was 5 doctors, 5 physiatrists,
Yeah.
2 athletic therapists, 1 chiro, 1 or 2 massage, and then 2 ATs, and then 2 of us. So a big team. And then we just figure, okay, what do we got to do? Because they can't release injured guys, right? So the GMs are like, you got to get these guys back on the field so they can either play or we can release them. So we're just pushing them like crazy. And we're like, man, this is so sweet. But if you get injured going mountain biking or at work, whatever it is, you're not going to get a team assisting you.
Right.
You're just going to be like, okay, well, I just got to go find a chiro or a massage or wherever and hope that they can help me, or you are the advocate to try to connect everyone.
Right.
So I thought if there was a team-based approach to treatment available to the public, that would be sweet. So that really kind of sparked the first reason as to why I kind of made Evolve.
And I want to ask you about that. One thing I've always wondered and been super amazed about is when you hear about professional athletes and the injuries that they get, like the amount of variance that you hear in injury recovery blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have heard, and I'm not an expert on rehab or anything like that, but I've heard of people, pulling something in their ankle or having some kind of knee surgery, and they'll be out for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll hear about that exact same injury on like a Connor McDavid or someone like that. It's like, oh, they had the exact same injury and they're back skating after 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always just been crazy to me that you can actually expedite recovery that much if you're doing the right things.
Oh yeah, it's significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's significant.
So what, I guess that would, you kind of beat me to the next question, which was, so you had this amazing position.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just keep doing that? What led you to go from there to
Police?
now you own, because then it was police. So what made you go from the Eskimos to the police service?
The biggest one was money.
Fair enough.
So working as a personal trainer is great, or a strength coach is great, but because the CFL is just so much smaller, right? There's just not a lot of revenue. So ultimately it was a passion job. It wasn't a job for revenue.
Right.
So I would at the time not be able to live comfortably just working with the Eskimos, right? So it was mainly just a side thing, which is a very, very good one, but
yeah,
at the time it was still just kind of a side business. So how it got worked into me getting to the police was I heard that a position at the fire department, Edmonton Fire, was opening up as the health coordinator. So I was like, oh, I'll try to apply. So what I did was I was like, hey, well, I'm just trying to get into as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law is a firefighter, and then his dad is a firefighter as well. So I got some information from them. He said, just try to get into the community. So like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to every single fire station and I'm going to say, hey, I'm Jon. I'm trying to apply for this job. What do you guys need for help? So I just like scheduled. I was like, hey, what are the fire departments I got to go to? So I would just like ring, hey, who are you? Yeah, so I'm this guy. So I'd like try to make the rounds and chat with people and stuff like that. So then I got connected with this guy, Graham Duty, who used to work with the person at the time, Jamie, pretty closely, and she was the person who left from
Right.
fire. So I got connected with Graham, and then he told me what was going on, and then I got connected with Jamie. I was like, hey, like, so you just left this position. I'd love to kind of hear what you liked about it, and if I can get some inside info to hopefully get onto the fire. And then as I was talking to her, she's like, I left fire to come to police, so you should come to police too. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll consider it. And then like as it's kind of going back and forth, right, I had an interview both with police and fire. And then I was like, I bombed the fire one.
Oh, no. Oh,
So I
no.
was like, maybe I'll go with the police one instead.
Fair enough.
So then, yeah, I got on with the police. And that was a full-time gig. It was great. It was training. That was pretty fun. It was training the recruits
Yeah.
and then doing all the physical fitness testing for the members. So
Interesting.
very interesting fact. At the time, there was only 2 police forces in Canada
Okay.
that have an annual fitness test.
Were we one of them?
Yep.
Wow.
There's one us, and then one in Ontario. But everywhere else does not require the members, so a member being an active police officer,
Yeah.
to do an annual fitness test.
So as someone that doesn't know about back-end police force operations, that doesn't seem like a good idea. What do you, I'm
I
actually
would
like, we don't
agree.
want to go down this road too much, but like, I'm curious, like what do you think about that? Do you think that should be a mandatory thing?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the union would say prove that this fitness test is applicable to actually working on the job, and them doing pull-ups or push-ups,
Yeah.
or a beep test. Yeah, I guess you could argue that doing pull-ups doesn't help, but being stronger and better endurance and faster will just help in most everything.
How could it not? Yeah. So I want to shout out your hustle and how you got that job, because what you did, and obviously, I work in recruitment. That's such a cheat code for getting the job you want. I don't think people realize how effective it is to just get in front of the people that you would be working for. It bypasses the whole, apply on this posting. Like when you just get in front of the person that you'd be working with and you do that over and over and over, it is so ridiculously effective. Like sometimes you meet people and they've had these incredibly interesting careers. And I sometimes ask them out of curiosity, like, how many jobs have you applied to online? And sometimes the answer is legitimately 0, because it's just the people that they know and talk to. And the reality is that, applying to hundreds of jobs online is soul sucking. When you get in front of the person, you can ask them, the right questions, and you'll, based on what they tell you, you can also gather pretty quickly whether or not you're a fit for it or not. So that's interesting that you, like, did anyone tell you to do that? Or you're just like, that's probably a good idea, I should just go start knocking on these fire stations?
The funny thing is, like, I was doing this, and then my sister's husband's father-in-law, he's pretty up. He's like, you probably should tone it down. And I was like, no, that's lame. I don't want to do that.
Well, it worked. So then you had this stable job at the police service.
Yep.
How do you get from that to now you own a gym?
Yeah. So the funny thing with that is I got fired from that job. Yeah. Because I don't
What's the
work well with
scoop?
others. No kidding.
What?
So like what's interesting is that was my first corporate job.
Okay.
And I didn't know corporate lingo or how to interact in a big corporation.
Right.
Because I would mainly just be direct. So one of the examples is one of the roles I need to do was, most police stations have a little gym because they got to work out in it, right? And I got handed all this stuff that this practicum student was doing previously, and they're saying, yeah, we're just going over to all these other precincts and looking at their gyms and placing some equipment. And this one had these old dumbbells. They're the old school dumbbells that they're all metal.
Do you like screw them on? Yeah. I'm terrified of those things.
Yeah.
They're in so many fail videos of just like the weights dropping on people's
Totally,
heads and stuff. Yeah.
And they have the big nuts on the ends.
Right.
So they're saying, like, if you holding an 80-pound dumbbell and you had that little nut sticking out like maybe 1.5 inches, that's a heavy pressure point, right?
Yeah.
So we were swapping all these dumbbells out for just the UMax urethane ones that are smooth. I was like, okay, that's reasonable. And I said, okay, do they know? Like, yep, everybody knows about it. I was like, sweet, makes my job easy. So then I go to the place, and it's funny, like, I got taught how to talk like a politician.
Yeah.
Like say lots, but don't actually say a lot, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, we're doing this budget thing and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's going to be a priority to ensure that all the equipment is going to come and blah, blah, blah. And some of the guys are like, you're just talking up your ass. I was like, well, it's still kind of true though. We got the money. But anyways, we were saying, yeah, like these dumbbells are going to be replaced because they're OH&S hazard because everyone told me that it was. And he's like, okay, sounds good. Like, yeah, when are they coming? I don't know. But they're on order. So however long it takes to manufacture them, they're going to come and they're going to replace them. Sounds good. So told this guy who I assumed everyone knew, or everyone knew about this information. And then I get a call from, I oddly enough had 4 bosses.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That sounds
brutal.
like a lovely time.
So then they say, hey, John, can we have a meeting? Yeah, sure. Sounds good. What's up? And they say, oh, so you told this guy that these are OH&S hazard? I said, yeah, because the so-and-so told me as well.
Yeah.
So everyone knows, right? It's like, yeah, but you shouldn't have said that. Well, why not? But everyone knows. Yeah, but now it kind of gets into this thing. So he told his boss and jumped over to here, then now here. So I'm getting in shit. I was like, but I just said exactly what everyone knows.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but you can't do that. I don't understand it. So ultimately, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was like, what should I do? I didn't have any idea of wanting to open a gym. So I was training some police officers still at the time. And then they were like, oh, you should open a gym. No, I'm not going to do that. Because I didn't want to go into I was doing some research about it. Monopoly versus perfect competition.
Yeah.
Perfect competition essentially is a race to the bottom. So you got Good Life, you got all these other gyms. I was like, if I'm going to open a gym, I don't want to fight against those guys. They got way too much money.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to bleed margins super, super low. So the person who is the lowest wins, and that sucks. If I ever do something, you want to be in Monopoly, so at least you can control at least your pricing. But ultimately, people kept asking me, and then this one officer was like, if you do it, I'll do it with you. I was like, oh, well,
no way.
Maybe this is something. So then it's funny. I even remember the day. So I was putting it off because he was even asking, like, what do you think? I was like, I don't know, maybe. I was like, screw it. I spent a Wednesday night. It was like from 9 o'clock to about 11:30. I was like, fine, I will look into it.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing was just looking at the risk. And I was looking at loans, what we need, blah, 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 blah. And I found this loan that was backed by the government, 75%.
Right.
And the principals only take 25%. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty sweet. That if I took out a loan for like $400,000, I would only have to secure $100,000.
Right. So
then if I fail, I just got to work for like a year and a half and then I'll pay it off and then I'll do whatever. So I thought that's a pretty reasonable risk. So I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. So then I knew I wanted to put it on the south side. And then I knew, south side. What I also said in my head is that it cannot be less than 10,000 square feet.
Right.
It needs to be large because the benefit of me watching my parents is knowing that a small operation cannot be fully passive.
Right.
It could be successful, but it can't be passive. And that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be passive. So and people were like, oh, you're going to open like a 3,000 square foot. I was like, no, hell no. Mm-hmm. Because that only means that I'm always going to work there.
You just made yourself an expensive job.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. So I said 10,000 minimum. I was even hoping to get closer to 15,000 square feet and ended up this space, which is 11,200 on the base and then 2,000 upstairs. So it's about 13,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that I mean, the first part of like when I think about opening a gym, like the first thing that comes to mind is the amount of equipment. I bought, over COVID, I bought a barbell and weights for like a little home gym I had in the basement. And I know how expensive those things are. So I was like, I think when we first met for a coffee, I was like, so did you have like millions of dollars just on standby, ready to just buy everything for the gym? And when you explained that to me, like it was like, I can only imagine what the conversation in your head was when you were looking at those numbers and weighing out the risk versus the reward. So you went for it. Mm-hmm. What was, when you made the decision, like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. Did you start on your own or did you have that partner?
Oh yeah, that partner.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saved up some money. I had like 20 grand in the bank just from working on personal training.
Yeah.
And then I sold my vehicle that summer. And then I drove my dad's red truck for a long time because he was just sitting doing nothing. And then, yeah, the nice thing is that I bought a lot of fitness equipment during my police days working with them because I was the main purchaser. So I knew who to talk to get the equipment. And I knew relatively what it would cost. So I didn't have to worry about it too much. I wasn't shocked about the price.
Right.
When I first initially worked at the police, I was like, what? That treadmill's $10,000? But I got used to it.
Yeah.
Knowing that dumbbells are $20,000.
For a rack of dumbbells?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the highest ones are $55,000. Yeah, so they range. I know exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, right? Those dumbbells are 10 years old and there's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They look totally fine.
So how long did it take you from, you have this idea. How long did it take you from working on the back end to get everything set up before, like you launched, Evolve is now live, and I guess before you had your grand opening?
I believe I signed the lease in September of 2014.
Okay.
Ish. And then we opened April Fool's Day.
Is that April Fool's? Okay.
April Fool's Day in 2015. But even some things of like, like thinking about it. Yeah, I'll go through like the initial stages, right?
Sure.
Because it's interesting to look back at it now and realize like how much I didn't know, but it still worked out, right? Because I still pushed and I asked some certain questions. So I remember when I was negotiating, and like, circumstances happen like for a reason, right? Like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So I was looking at this building, and then I was looking at another building on 75th Street. And I was like, yeah, these are pretty good. I'm going to call up the listing agent. And his name was Jordan Adams. And I said, hey, like, my name's John. I'm looking to open a gym. And he was like, John, like, did you work at World Health? I was like,
no way.
Yeah. He's like, I was your client.
That's hilarious.
Like, oh, Jordan. Yeah. So it was like 3 years after. I was like, yeah, man, I want to open a gym, bro. So then, we met, and he showed me these two spots. And, I wanted to have, the integration of, health and wellness. And I was looking at 2 locations, and this one had way more offices. This one is in a worse position for exposure, but it had more of it's already built. And then I was going over the lease stuff, and I was just Googling. And I this was always kind of funny. People always ask, like, did you do business school?
Yeah.
Did I tell you what my research was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know it, but
yeah,
I would. Yeah, everyone else should know as well.
Yeah, it was so funny because I didn't have a job, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, what should I do? So then I watched 16 seasons of Shark Tank straight.
So good.
It was like 5 or 6 hours a day. But the sweet thing is that, like, whenever they said a word, I didn't know. I just paused it. I was like, what does that mean? And then I just like started Googling it, right? So then I got the offer to lease, and Jordan was like, this is what it is. I was like, okay. So I'm trying to go over these things. Like, what's TIA? What's all this stuff? Would just spend the time looking at it. And he's like, did you have any comments? Not yet. Still Googling to try to figure it out. I didn't use a lawyer at the time. And then there was this thing. I said, there's a thing called fixturing period of how long it takes to build up the spot. I said, what if I finish beforehand? Can I move in for free? And he said, yeah, we can.
You don't know until you ask.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So I just asked all these questions. And then he said, yeah, we can put an early occupancy clause in. I was like, oh, sweet. That's good. And then there's one called TIA, tenant improvement allowance, where the landlord pays a certain dollar value to the tenant to build the space, but it's usually they pay it after.
Right.
And I said, Jordan, how does it usually work? And he said, usually you build it out, and then you show the landlord the work, and then if it's good, then they'll give you the money back. And I was like, oh crap, like I don't have that money.
Right.
And at the time, it was going to be about $200,000 to do the renovation.
Okay.
And I was like, so I talked to the landlord. I said, if I use the same, because they were doing some landlord's work, because this was one tenant before, so they have to demise it into 3 tenants. I said, if I use your same general contractor that you're using, can you just pay them for me? And they said, sure.
So just building it into your lease basically for...
Well, as in like I didn't have to pay the GC first and then get the money back. Oh. Because I used their same general contractor doing the work anyway. I was like, I'll use them. and then you just pay them directly, and then it's good to go, right? They're like, yeah.
That's so
I was like,
smart.
oh, thank God.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have to pay it. So yeah, you just got to ask.
I have a question for you. So how terrifying is that first lease agreement when I don't know about you, but because I was looking at opening this was a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was looking at opening a psychology clinic with a partner that they owned a few clinics, and we were looking through the building, and that agreement was just like the scariest legal document that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
It addresses every possible thing that could humanly happen in a building. And the way it's written is just like therein, thereof, herein, there.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an act of God or a tornado or a tsunami, thou building shall be do. Like, it's just terrifying reading that through that.
Oh yeah.
Did you just get a lawyer to do it, or did you have to
No.
like skim through that trying to Google what all of these things mean?
Like, well, the funny thing is, I didn't know that you could negotiate it.
Oh, so you just like, okay.
So like, well, like I remember sitting in an office here. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I got to read this thing, and it's fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Legal pages, 11 by 14, like
Yeah.
50 of them. I was like, God damn it. So I'm reading it, and I'm like,
So
well,
brutal.
that doesn't sound good, but I guess I have to accept it.
Yeah.
Didn't know that I can say no. So then I was like, and Jordan's like, yeah, I should really get a lawyer. I was like, I don't have a lawyer. So I just read it, and I was like, I guess I'll just sign it.
Yeah.
So then I signed it. So yeah, knowing now, I would definitely get a lawyer.
There's
and
a lot of
and I
things
know
on there.
exactly what to not agree to.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought it was a non-negotiable, that if I were to negotiate, they would say, okay, too bad. You're not going to get it then. That's what I thought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Valuable lesson.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you launched the gym, April Fools.
Yeah.
What was the first 6 months like when you were going from having a regular job to now you're responsible for, IT, marketing, security, operations, sales, HR, payroll? How was that transition?
It was me, and at the time Tim.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to stay very long. He only stayed for like 3 months. But we just worked every day, 16 hours a day. So there was a stretch where Tim wasn't able to do it because he was still an active police officer. He's
Right.
like, I just don't have the time, unfortunately, which is reasonable. You can't have 2 full-time jobs
Yeah.
at the same time, right? So we were swapping off like essentially like 4-day, 16-hour day shifts.
Right.
And then when he had to leave, it was just me for I think 3 months straight at 16 hours a day. So I would come open. I had some really good personal trainers and friends who helped me out. And his name is Dean. He would come and he's like, if you want to like have a nap,
Yeah.
like on your chair, I'll watch the front. I was like, yeah, thanks, dude. So then I would, open, come here at 5:45, open it, go in, make sure clean up a little bit, clean, and then it's usually around 7 to 8. It was pretty slow, so I would go into my office, have a nap,
Yeah.
and then come back out and then just work the whole day, clean. And my mom would work, my dad would come clean, and then as the revenue slowly built up, I brought in 1 employee, then 2 employees. I would train them, and then just slowly had enough revenue to have some staff. So, and it was the awesome thing. It was a lot of the staff were initially from when I worked at police.
Right.
They were my practicum students, so I brought them in for a little bit. And then a lot of people from the gym, they just wanted to work there. So they just say, hey, are you looking for more people? So I hired people from the gym.
So when people hear 16 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
that's really hard. And that's, I'm 8 or 9 months into launching my company. So that's still the phase that I'm definitely in. It's just work 24/7. That's all you think about. It's all consuming. But was it fun for you doing that?
Oh yeah. Well, it was. Yeah. Like I enjoyed it. I put myself in a situation.
Yeah.
I made one rule to never sleep overnight. And there's so many
broke that
times.
one?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, I would always drive home. Always drive home. Even if I would drive home, the gym would close at 11. 10. I would say I got to be in bed by 10:50. So I would go home, quickly eat, go right to bed, wake up at 4:45.
Yeah. So I'd be lying if I said I hadn't genuinely thought about putting like a little bed or like a cot up there. I won't do it because,
Yeah.
recently engaged, getting married next year. Haley, if you're listening, probably wouldn't appreciate that very much.
Yep.
but it sounds practical. Like
It certainly does.
It really, you just wake up and you just do it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I realized, because when you listen to Shark Tank and you listen to Kevin O'Leary, Mark Cuban, they're talking about the 16-hour day, the work 24/7, and it is scary. But what I found was that 16-hour day, when you're on this kind of quest, is so much fun. At least for me, it was. Like I genuinely felt when I had, a typical corporate job, an 8-hour day, I was looking at I'm like, when is this gonna end? Like I just, one more meeting, like kill me now.
Yep.
16 hours like just flies by.
It does.
It really it kind of blew my mind how quickly the days go by. And it was just, I was curious if you enjoyed that, because it's honestly like it's almost hard not to work 16 hours a day when you're starting a company.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You have to do it. It's expected, especially because you put so much time and effort and money into it.
Yeah.
You want to make sure it succeeds. So you just do it.
So you had your launch. Fast forward to, I guess, where you are now. How many Evolves are there?
There's 7.
7.
I'm building one right now, 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that time, and here's a question that I love asking other business owners. What was the hardest professional day you had since you launched? I know it's a stumper.
I don't know.
There isn't one?
No, there probably isn't. Like, I guess maybe around COVID-ish. Like I remember when we're shutting down. Like, oh fuck! Like, what do you mean we're shutting down?
Yeah, the whole business there. Yeah,
yeah. It was the coordination to ensure that is over all locations done properly, and making the decision to determine what we're actually going to do. That was difficult. But the benefit is that we reacted extremely quickly with every single change, and we open, close, open, close, open, close. So we were able to do it. I think in total we opened and closed, I think it was 8 times, I think, or something like that. Yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, like nothing's really hard. Like that's I don't know. There's challenges, but I would never consider it to be hard.
So your reaction to that question just kind of brought me a flashback to when we first went for our coffee meeting. And I remember I was still working at Robert Half at the time.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, like, I really want to start a business. And I was running some of the different ideas through past you. And there's one thing that you said that's burned into my mind forever. And I still think about this moment. And I think like when I was hearing your story about how you started Evolve, and I think I asked you, I forget exactly how I worded it, but it was like, wow, taking the leap and starting a business is so scary, right? Like, how did you do it? And your reaction to that question, it was the most nonchalant, like, no, not really. And I was just like, when you said that, I just immediately knew that I've been lying to myself about the fear and all of that stuff. It was all bullshit. The second you said that, in that, like, no, it really wasn't. It was like, oh my God, he's right. Why? Like, it's what I've always wanted to do. My story maybe is a little bit different than yours. I had 2 dreams. One is to be a famous metal drummer. You know, unless you're Metallica, you can't pay the bills like that.
Yep.
The second was to be a business owner. It's what I've always wanted to do. There's no like, that's the path, period, the end. So when you said that, it was like, he's right. Like, why am I telling myself that it's so scary? Why am I like just, because I was asking you for like reassurance. I wanted you to be like, yeah, Francisco, it's really hard. You should take your time. And you're just like, no, just do it. And then immediately it was like, that just killed any of, and there's still obviously self-doubt and there's fear involved with it, but it just, I don't know why, but I always felt like I had to, everyone talks about it's this big, scary, giant thing. So I built it up in my head like this giant monster that I can only take the leap once I do X, Y, and Z. And I have to have, 2 years of savings and the perfect plan. And I have to have an office and it's like, no, like just do it. And yeah, so had we not had that conversation, I would have done it eventually. I probably would have stalled for another probably 12 months. So you have my eternal gratitude for pushing me off that ledge a little bit there.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So you have 7 Evolves right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go from here? What do you envision for Evolve?
There's lots that could be done. Ultimately, just gonna make it as big as possible. That's essentially it, right? I see opportunities where no one's doing what we're doing
Yeah.
in other markets. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go there first. Grow it as large as I possibly can. And the ultimate goal would be, which would be so fun to try to do, right?
Yeah.
Because when people ask like, oh, what's business like? I was like, it's honestly like the Wild West.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Like if you can get someone to say yes, then bam, right? The wicked thing that I would love to see is so there was this, I remember meeting this guy. It was such a crazy way, not necessarily crazy when we met, but it's very interesting. So we were flying back from a fitness conference, just a equipment fitness conference in San Diego. This was years ago, maybe like 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And get on a plane, me and this guy, Mike, I couldn't book our seats together. I was like, whatever, who cares? So we were flying back from, I think, San Diego to Edmonton, something like that. And I'm sitting beside this older guy and I'm just bored, right?
Yeah.
So I see him texting. I was like, I wonder who he's texting. So I'm looking at his phone and he's like, oh, baby, I love you.
Oh,
And
man.
stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay, just, chatting with some chick. I don't
Yeah.
know, it's older guy, right? And then he's like flipping through these other things and he's like zooming into these numbers. And I'm like, oh, what was he looking at? And I try to peek and I see the word franchise.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I wonder what he does. So then I'm like reading some more. And I was like, Stratus Building Solutions, something like that. I don't know what is. I'm trying to look. I can't search it on my phone, whatever. I was like, okay, well, when he's off his phone, obviously he's going to be off his phone because
Yeah.
we got to go on the airplane. Then I'll talk with him. So I said, hey man, how's it going? Right. So I chatting with him. And he's like, oh, I'll go, blah, blah, blah. I said, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a franchisor. I said, I'm a franchisor too.
No way.
Knowing that I could kind of bridge this gap,
Yeah.
right? So then we just chatted for like 2 hours and he just gave me such amazing business advice. And then I met him like 2 or 3 times after, and he just gave me such amazing information. And what he did was he told me this amazing idea that he did. So he owned or used to own these sign companies, and he's from a small town kind of near Camrose. And he was like, I just, selling signs, advertisement really.
Yeah.
And he was like, Big Valley Jamboree is huge, right? In Camrose, and I want to obviously make some money. But the issues with signs is that you can't put them everywhere.
Mhm.
You only put them where you're approved to do so.
Right.
And you really can't put a competitor sign somewhere else. So if I, for example, owned a car wash, I can't put my sign saying, come to my car wash in front of Bubbles Car Wash.
Yeah.
Like, screw you, right?
Exactly.
So he's like, well, I want to figure out how to get more exposure. So what he did, he ran a little test. He said he went to the beer providers for Big Valley. And he said, obviously you need to sell your beer, right? And there's other beers coming here. I have locations for 80 or 100, some crazy number, signs all around Camrose. Do you want to buy it? And they said, sure. Like, I don't know how you could secure so many.
Yeah.
So what he did was he went to all these businesses and say, I'm doing a promotion. I will give you a free sign on the top half, but the bottom half, I can put whatever I want. And they said, okay. So he went to all these businesses.
Yeah.
And he put 80 of them out, but he sold the bottom half to Coors Light. So he had Coors Light signs everywhere, all over Camrose, and he was able to secure all of that because he did it for free. So he said, when you give it for free to other businesses, they'll always say yes, but you don't need to give everything away for free, because typically a sign, we'll call it, is whatever size it was, right?
Yeah.
Everyone assumes that you buy everything, but he was just giving away the top for free, but selling the bottom. but he was able to grant access to everywhere he wanted because there was no restrictions because everyone would say yes to having a free sign.
So smart.
I was like, damn, man, that's so sweet.
What a foot in the door to like just wow.
Exactly. So he said, if you can make things for free, there's no barrier at all. So what I actually wanted to do from that side is my goal, one of the goals, if we can somehow attain it, it'd be still cool to try, is, and this would be so freaking awesome, is advertisement, right?
Yeah.
Is where you can make money. So he essentially did advertisement, right? That's what his business was, right? He was selling the bottom, but he gave it all the top for free, right? But he got so many more eyes onto it because there's so many more locations within cameras that could see it. So everyone saw it. Thus, he can drive the price up for advertisement. So I thought it'd be so sick if you gave gym memberships all for free for all gyms. But then you wrap every single piece of equipment in branding. And you have...
Interesting.
So say, imagine you have all these spin bikes.
Yeah.
You take all the spinning and you wrap them all in Under Armour. Or you have all your machines and you put them as Nike.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, right? So then, because you think about it from like a sporting event,
right?
European hockey, they have like advertisements all over their jerseys, right?
Right.
Or you go to a soccer game, there's advertisements everywhere, but there's no advertisements in a gym.
That is so outside the box.
And the crazy thing is, people's usage of phones is lowest in a gym because they're working out or they don't want to smash their phone, right? As well as, the work to rest ratios, you're going to exercise for 30 seconds and rest for 3 minutes.
Right.
So you have time to look around. So I thought it'd be so sick if you gave all these gym memberships for free. And then what you would do is you would then subsidize all the gym memberships for advertising. So you would then have that. But then the second you have all gym memberships for free, you kill every other gym brand because they're just going to come over.
Yeah.
And then you take over their lease because they can't pay the bills. And then you do the same thing and you give all memberships for free. And then you have another advertising to subsidize the gym memberships. And you just keep going until your whole city has free gym memberships and no one else can come in because no one can offer it better than free.
Yeah, like I mean, that would be such a win for people that, maybe they're on a budget and they still want to work out and they're like, well, I don't want to pay the, $70, $60, $50 a month, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, if that could work financially, it would definitely help a lot of people.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You just grant access for free for everything. That'd be so sick.
That would be so, yeah.
That'd be fun. I'll try it and see if it can work. But if that doesn't work, what I do want to do, it'd be so sweet to get gym memberships subsidized by the government.
Right.
And the epidemic of obesity is just getting worse.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a point where we can then alleviate the healthcare system because we know we can, and then just tie it within the government. So I want to kind of get all the gym guys at the table and then just lobby the government.
Right.
Just say, yo, give us money.
Well, and it would be such a good investment in people, right?
Oh,
because if you even something like COVID, what's one of the best possible defenses for a sickness like that is being in good health, not having any chronic illnesses, right?
Yep.
Having a healthy BMI, and the amount of strain that if you could get just a healthy population, the amount of strain that would take off of the actual healthcare system,
of course,
would be enormous.
Yep. Healthy people make everything better. So
100%.
Yeah, do that. I want to go into the States. I want to spread it. Yeah. Just
so you want to make it as big as possible.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's fun.
Fair. Can't argue with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, purely out of enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very, very, very fun.
Yeah. And we're just talking about obviously the benefits of health. Do you find that has being a business owner affected your body in any way? I know it's kind of an unusual question.
The funny thing that people say is like, oh, well, I don't work out in the gym. Even though I own a gym. That's pretty much the biggest thing. Yeah.
Oh, because you don't do weights and stuff, do you?
Oh, I love working out.
Yeah.
But when I come here, like I'm working.
Yeah.
Right. So most of my day is spent on the computer.
Right.
or meetings and stuff like that. So my frequency of how often I would work out has drastically decreased from owning the gym.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so important because if you're sitting at a desk all day, even just something like hanging from a pull-up bar for a couple minutes just to stretch out the back.
Oh yeah.
Like it's really hard, but it's just been so important. There was a couple months where I just didn't, but trying to get back into it now. But yeah. So I think it was really cool that you met someone like that on a plane and they gave you all that coaching and guidance. Did you have any kind of mentorship or coach when you first started to teach you how to do this?
There was a guy, one of my clients that helped me out and provided some good business information. That was helpful, but no one in particular. Yeah, what I did was, out of his recommendation, he was like, you should make an advisory board."
Right.
I was like, "What's that?" Right. So I just Google it. I was like, "That sounds pretty good." So then I just chose people that I knew. It was him. It was this other client who was a lawyer, and then another client who was Mike, who now works with Evolve. Has been there for a long time. But then I would just ask those guys, like, "What do you guys think?" Because I wanted to get other people's opinions on what to do, and that was very helpful. Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah, and I've noticed before we had our first coffee meeting a while ago, I was doing my research on you because I like to look up people before I meet them. And I noticed you were on Reddit in Edmonton and you're like, "Hey guys, I'm opening a gym. What do you guys want to see?" And I think just that getting feedback from your customers, I haven't seen a lot of businesses do that. That's an idea I might steal in the future.
That's honestly the easiest way to reduce the risk.
Companies pay for feedback. Like just ask Redditors. They'll give you a mouthful.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to ask you is, so in my business, it's all about connecting the right people and introducing partnerships, employees, employers. You franchise Evolve. How do you evaluate possible partnerships? How do you, assess someone that comes to you, "Jon, I want to open an Evolve." And how do you decide, yes, I want to do business with this person, or pass?
A lot of research as to, when I was looking at franchising was, how do you choose a good franchisee, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was KFC, I think, that made this thing. They look for the 3 C's. So it's capacity, capability, and capital. So they have to have the capacity to actually do it, the capabilities, the skill set to actually do it, and then the capital, the money to actually do it. So those actually kind of hit it very well for me. So I kind of follow the same mantra of looking at a person. So do they have the capital to do so?
Yeah.
Which if they don't, then it sucks. But the banks will say no. Or do they have the capacity to do it, which also is important, because you can get the best person to do it, but if they have no time to do it, then they can't do it. And then third is the capability. Do they have the skill set to actually execute? So we just kind of break it down through those 3 things and then ask questions based upon those.
Gotcha. Are there any red flags that you look for in people?
Obviously finances is an easy, simplistic one to say, like, good or not good.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. Time commitment obviously is important as well. And then also passion too, because we want to make sure that the person who is coming in is someone who likes the gym and likes fitness, right? And the benefit is vast majority of people like to work out.
Yeah.
They like the benefits, right? So
yeah,
a lot of the people, well, all of them actually, who own gyms or have been a part of it, they don't have like a fitness background. They're not personal trainers. They didn't go to school for fitness. They're just people who honestly experienced the gym and then loved it, then wanted to do it.
Right.
So that's what the passion comes down from. Definitely, as we grow bigger, we become a little bit more stringent on the people that we would like to see in the roles. We want them to be good business-minded individuals who have experience, at least in management.
Right.
Because the issues that really kind of come down, if there are going to be issues, would be management. They don't know how to manage people, or they don't have experience managing people. So we want to make sure that people who are coming in have that. But also the benefit of that is, I look at it, and my goal is, I don't want like 1% of people only available to be a franchisee. I want 100% of people. Right. So then if I want to broaden the amount of people that I allow to come in, I need to make sure that the support system and systems in place to ensure that they have the support needed so that they can actually do it. So even this podcast that I set up, right? That was one of the reasons that triggered me to think, okay, well, if I want to have my franchisees or operators more educated in fitness, who they're not, because I don't expect them to go to university and do a 4-year degree and then work in fitness to then now run it. I got to take all what I know and the connections that I have and then kind of make it easy to digest and educate people so they can then essentially just watch it all and then do what I do.
And even so when you're talking about, getting the right people in the right roles and having those kind of supports to give them the best chances of succeeding, I feel like one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the last 8 months, and I'm still learning it, is that, at the end of the day, it really does come down to the people that you're working with and those partnerships. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to hear, and I feel like most people at some point have heard that, but there's a deeper understanding where, even just being 8 months in, for example, is like, I know how to, hire for clients. I know how to fill the job orders. I know how to get clients. So the difference between my company, where it is now, and actual growth, is the people and the people that I'm going to bring on board. Because so I've already successfully made myself a job. Mm-hmm. That's not the goal. And one of the things that I'm, really learning from you is having the structures in place to actually bring people on board, having a designated training program. So that's exciting, and I have a lot to learn there, but I'm excited. And so the last question that I had for you, Jon, is, anyone listening that has thought about starting a business, or maybe they have an idea that they want to explore, what advice would you have for someone that's looking to get started and pursue this?
The risk isn't as big as people think it is. And actually, this is a very interesting thing that kind of stuck with me. So my wife knows this woman. I met her as well. And she did her MBA in Edmonton, I think. And then during her MBA, she went down to California to do, I don't know, just class thing. And they just met lots of people there.
Yeah.
And they were just talking with all the other MBA kids, students, whatever it was. And what she said was so crazy. She said, I was asking people who were doing businesses, and they were able to go into startup areas and just, is this your first startup?
Yeah.
The person's like, no, this is my 11th. This is my 14th. This is my 8th. This is my 20th. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, doesn't work. We just try again. And she said that was such a different mentality, because in where we are, Edmonton, right? And these are the people she was talking with. If you don't succeed at one business, you're done. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool that you see all these tech entrepreneurs at the time. It was maybe like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
California was really booming about it, right? So like, what was different about them? And the only difference is that they just like failed and like, oh, well, let's just try again, I guess. And they just kept on trying and trying and trying and trying. So the fear of failure is actually, it's only internal. Honestly, it's only internal, right? No one cares. No one cares at all if you fail or not.
That's so true. And in fact, people respect you for actually taking a shot and trying to go for it, because most people want to.
Exactly.
They really do.
Yep.
And it's not like, you loser, it didn't work. It's like, hey man, I took a shot, it didn't work.
Yep.
Like,
I'm gonna try again.
What it is. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what's interesting is like it only takes one. And also from like listening to Shark Tank, like a lot of times they're like, it's only one deal.
Right.
That like made it explode. Even if you're looking at, I think it was maybe Kevin O'Leary too. There was like, he tried a couple things and there was this one thing that just took off. I think it was
his education one.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It just takes one. That's it. All you need to looking for is the one.
Right.
Right. So it makes no sense to only try once.
You know what's crazy? So I've been recruiting for 6 years, and I never even considered that this would be the bit. Like I have a Google Drive folder. I'm not exaggerating. I think I have like 60 or 70 business ideas I thoroughly explored since I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
And even the one I talked to you, like when my fiance and I got engaged, we were looking at wedding venues, and we're like, it's like 10 grand and they're all pre-booked 2 years ahead of time. We actually went pretty far down the road of like building a wedding venue, and you helped me with like some of the financials where I'm like, John, how much is heating for a building? How much is insurance? And like, there's so many businesses, and you know, I hope this is the one. I think it is, but it took a lot of trial and error to actually just find a business that I had the skill set and the knowledge to actually get off the ground. And amazing, John. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's awesome getting to know your story in more detail, and thanks a lot, man.
Welcome, bro.
All right.
Very good.
Adios. Until next time.
Thank you.